الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله تعالى فإن الله تعالى مع المتقين وبعد. We have coming up an opportunity to spend time with our children. We have the summer holidays coming, and for the younger children 6 to 7 weeks, for the olders who are attending university, perhaps doing their GCSEs, college, etc., a longer duration. And for some, this is a time which means less time alone, less time with quiet space, less opportunity to concentrate, and so on and so forth. And for some, they perhaps don't enjoy when their children are at home because of the noise, because of the perceived chaos, and so on and so forth. And they try to find a place to take their children to spend the hours during the day so that they can have their time back. But we should look at this time as a time wherein we can build our children, wherein we can develop our children. Every single day that we spend with our children is important. Every hour that we spend with our children is important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us responsibility to raise our children. And there is a difference between raising a child and sustaining a child. As the famous saying goes, a male can make a child, but a man raises a child. It takes a man to raise a child. It takes a woman to raise a child. To be a father, a person has to be able to deal with the pressure, the responsibility, and see it as being important. And it is a very important part of our existence as an ummah. To be a mother, a woman has to see the importance of raising her child, giving love, passion, care, comfort to her child. And we live in a society now wherein we've become confused. We are like a team playing sports on a field and we don't know where the goal is. The rules keep changing. One minute the defender has become a striker, the next minute the striker is a midfielder, and then he's on the wing, and so on and so forth. Our roles are misunderstood, our direction has become non-existent, and therefore we're just suspended in existence. Every person tending to his own self on a large playing field. But that's not our approach. As the Ummah of Islam, as the people of a framework God given, we have roles, we have responsibilities, we have direction, we have heritage behind us. And one of the most important aspects of our existence is raising the next generation. It's proven. You can read the hundreds, if not thousands, of research papers into the importance of a parent in a child's life. Emotional stability comes from the relationship that a child has with his or her parents. Spiritual stability comes from the relationship with the parents. World views are shaped by the parents and the household. That's why today we see so many problems, because we're in a society that encourages households that are broken. And they're no longer referred to as broken households because no one wants to offend anyone anymore. But the reality is, a household wherein both parents are not present and they both can be present, that's a broken household. It's a broken household. And we have to understand it in order to fix it. If I go to the doctor and the doctor tells me I'm sick and I'm offended by what the doctor tells me, I'm not going to find a cure. I'm not going to become better. One of the issues that we have in our community and society generally is this issue, the issue of a broken household, which leads to the child not being able to develop relationships properly when they grow up. The young man who doesn't have a father in his life does not know how to be a father for his children when he has children. He does not know how to be a husband for his wife when he has a wife. He does not know how to make decisions properly. He has to learn from his own experience and get burnt a few times before he learns how to make decisions correctly, and that's if he even learns. Why? Because he hasn't had someone there to show him how. The young girl who doesn't have a father in her life, she does not know how to be treated by a man when she gets older. She doesn't know how a man should treat her as a wife when she becomes a wife. She doesn't know how a father should be with her children when she becomes a mother and she has a husband who becomes the father of her children. Likewise, the young man who does not have a mother in his life, he develops emotional instability because he hasn't had that soft, caring, loving, tending touch in his life. The young girl that doesn't have the mother in her life, how does she know how to grow into a woman? How to be a mother? How to be a wife? This is a problem that we have in our community, in our society. And we have to fix this problem, because we do not want this problem to continue. We want the best for our children. We want the best for our future. That means sometimes we have to bear the burden and the pain of our current relationships in order to sustain positive, good relationships for our children and their futures. And this summer holiday, it's an opportunity to develop our children, to provide our children with that emotional stability, spiritual stability. It's an opportunity to teach our children how to be believers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us to protect ourselves and our families from the fire. And Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, as At-Tabari he mentions in his tafsir, he said this means to do what? عَلِّمُوهُمْ وَأَدِّبُوهُمْ. To teach our families al-ilm wal-adab, knowledge and character. Knowledge and character. Character in the home, character outside of the home. Today we see in society, the young no longer respect their elders. Why? Because the elders are not teaching them to respect their elders in their households. We see, for example, in the masjid, when young children are coming to the masjid and they are, for example, urinating all over the floor, the toilet seats, not having any respect for the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where is that coming from? It's from our homes. When we see young boys and girls acting wild outside, where does the problem lie? The problem lies in the homes. This is our responsibility. And we don't tend to our children then when, and I say our children as in generation of children, as children are not only the responsibility of the household, our children as an ummah, they are a collective responsibility. And when they get to the age of 15, 16, 17, 18, and they're acting wild, they're wilding out, what do we like to do? We like to point fingers at them, and we like to blame them. We're the ones to blame. Why? Because we're not tending to them. We're not teaching them. We're not raising them. We're not nurturing them. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, كل مولود يولد على الفطرة أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Every single child is born with the innate, sound nature, believing in Allah. But what happens? His parents corrupt him. The parents corrupt the children. When we are, for example, turning on TVs, giving our children tablets, phones, and other mediums of entertainment to keep them quiet, what are we doing? We're corrupting their minds. Behind every cartoon, there is a philosophy. Behind every film, there is a philosophy. All of these things, they come from people who have ideas, beliefs, and philosophies. And we complain about the schools, yet we are indoctrinating our children in our homes with this nonsense that we're feeding them on TV screens, tablets, and phones. That's a reality. And we do this, why? So that we can have some peace of mind, so that we can have some time off. It's wrong. It's a responsibility. Our children are our responsibility, and we are going to be questioned about them on Yawm al-Qiyamah. As Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he said, we speak about the rights of the parents over the children. As a community, we often remind our children we have rights over them. They also have rights over us. The right to education, the right to understanding, the right to love. The Prophet ﷺ, when he kissed a child in front of one of the nomads, and the nomad, what did he say to him? The Bedouin, what did he say to him? He said, I have 12 sons, I don't kiss any of them. And the Prophet ﷺ, he responded, the one who does not show mercy will not be shown mercy. That's a responsibility. If we nurture our children correctly, we raise our children correctly, the next generation will make such a change. This earth will be a different place. But if we neglect our responsibility, then the cycle that we've been seeing for the last few decades is going to continue, and it's going to get worse. We have to think about this. And for those young men and those young women that are not yet married, if you're thinking about marriage, you need to think about children. If you cannot handle the responsibility of having a child and raising a child and dedicating your time to your child, then don't get married, because you're going to cause more problems than solutions for our ummah. This is something that needs to be taken seriously. It's not something to be taken for granted. Our children, they are lives. And we are going to have an impact in their lives. Positive or negative. We have to make the choice. Which of the two are we going to have? A positive impact or a negative impact? أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وحده وصلوات ربي وسلامه على أشرف الأنبياء ومن تبعه وبعد. And for those that may perhaps be offended by the term broken home, it's become a common thing today. It's become common. It's not something which is not the norm. Many of us come from broken homes. And so many of us have tasted the pain of a broken home. And so we have to say to ourselves, we don't want that for the future. We don't want that for the next generation. We look at what's happening in Palestine, continuing to happen, in Burma, with the Uyghur Muslims. In how many places in Africa now you hear about killing and murders and kidnapping and so on and so forth. Sometimes in the name of Islam, other times in the name of something else. All of these things, we are responsible for them. If we raise our children right, we are going to change the state of this earth in the years to come. If we don't raise our children right, then crying about what's happening in the world, to some extent, it's hypocritical. Because we're not doing what we can do to make a difference. We're not focusing on the areas where we have impact when we should be focusing on those areas. I'm not saying that we shouldn't cry when we see what's happening in the world. No, we should cry, but we should be crying on ourselves and for ourselves because we're responsible for these things. The way that we live our lives, we are influencing our children. What happens in the home is influencing our children. We want to create an environment of Iman, an environment of education, an environment of culture for our children so that they rise and grow into the leaders that we want to see in this world. As I said previously, for every Salah ad-Din, rahimahullah ta'ala, there was a mother and a father and there were teachers. We want to be those men and women that raise the likes of Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi. For every Al-Ghazali, or for every Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Al-Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad, rahimahumullah ta'ala jami'an, for all of them, there were mothers and fathers and teachers and uncles. We want to be the generation that nurtures the trees that are going to give fruit to this world tomorrow. That's who we need to be. What can a person do this summer when they have their children at home? They can teach them Iman. How? By praying with them, by reading the Quran with them, by taking them to see the masajid in the UK, for example. Taking them to different masajid, experiencing the different communities and environments with them. Taking them to perhaps some lectures, some talks that are suitable for them. Educate them. Iman, education. Education through what? We have museums here that are free in the UK. Visiting museums, visiting galleries, art galleries, history galleries. All of these things are free. They only require an Oyster card and you can travel to these places for free. Exercise, taking our children to the parks, engaging our children in physical activity, rather than being stuck on PlayStations and Nintendos and Xboxes and so on and so forth, or iPads and so on and so forth. Take them outside, let them exercise, let them run about. We need to teach our sons to be men and our daughters to be women. That's our ummah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to aid us and to guide us when we're with our children and to make us role models that are worthy of being followers of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Warda Allahumma an Abi Bakr wa an Umar wa an Uthman wa an Ali wa an sa'ir sahabati ajma'in. Allahumma ya mujib ad-da'awat. Allahumma ihdina wa ihdi dhurriyyatana. Allahumma ij'alna min al-ta'ibin wa at-ta'ibin li rasulika ya rabbal alamin wa aqim as-salah.